The break-ins have happened on the east side of Columbus, but also in Whitehall. More cases in Gahanna, in Reynoldsburg, and in Pickerington could also be linked. Right now, for every dollar you spend in a Franklin County store, you pay 7 cents in sales tax. The new higher tax adds a half penny. Turns out the most revealing part of your next checkup may actually not be your x-rays. Dentists say they can find indications of things like heart disease and diabetes simply by looking in your mouth. So what makes flinging fake birds at pig forts fun anyways? It's hard to imagine just how much money that is. So let me give you an idea. If you had $1 for each seat here at Ohio Stadium, you could fill this entire place more than 375 times. At the all-new Fire Station number 3, there's an aging piece of equipment.
This was my truck for 26 years.
64-year-old Lieutenant Vic Runkle.
I absolutely love this job.
Has been a Columbus firefighter more than 15,000 days. And every day, he says he thinks of one night on High Street.
Yeah.
July 25th.
Probably the worst day of my life.
1987.
We lost John Nance.
John Nance was among the first inside the Midoff building that already sweltering night. The veteran firefighter fell into the basement. Rescue attempts lasted all night. These days, in a typical rescue attempt, firefighters can go through as many as 2 tanks of air. That's enough for about an hour. But that night, Lieutenant Runkle was on his 8th when the situation became even more dangerous.
The building started falling down, and that's when the chief made a decision to pull everybody else out, and we lost John.
Tragedy.
Horrible night.
Soon became just one word for what happened.
The fire was started by an arsonist.
This is murder.
Billy Reedus has worked the arson investigation since day one.
I remember everything about that area at 151 North High. Yeah, it's as vivid as it happened yesterday to me.
Records show the fire began in the basement, quickly fueled by something possibly like gasoline.
So you go over these files time and time again.
Everything Reedus found has become part of the Nance file. Now, boxes of nearly 3 decades of details, hours of taped interviews and videos.
To this day, we have not been able to find out who's responsible for this fire.
An arrest still isn't close.
Very frustrating.
Reedus says the newest tip came a year ago, and it could be his last.
No regrets.
He's retiring soon.
Did what I could.
I don't really want to.
And he's not the only one leaving the department.
But I think it's time.
After 42 years, Lieutenant Vic Runkle has ended his days as a firefighter. And that unforgettable night has led to new training and equipment.
It's got an extra mask.
As part of the legacy for a fallen friend for days still to come.
I hope that his legacy continues.
Mike McCarthy, ABC 6 News. Some homecomings are planned well in advance. Then there's ones like this.
Pretty much bringing back home.
Lieutenant J.G. Bias.
Naval officer that got killed.
Lieutenant Steve Bias died just more than a week ago.
Pretty much volunteered for a civilian mission over in Afghanistan.
Killed in action for an improvised explosive device.
More than 50 riders, most with the Ohio Patriot Guard, showed their condolences and support this morning.
We're going to escort him and his family from the Columbus airport over to Wellston, Ohio, to his home.
Not a quick trip.
I'm thinking it's about 80 miles, but I'm not 100% sure. I know we've got a great contingent of police that'll be escorting us all the way there.
But a trip to reflect upon.
His ultimate sacrifice to preserve our freedoms is why I'm here today.
Many riding today didn't personally know the man they're riding for, but took his sacrifice Personally,
I served 4 years in the Army, so kind of hit home with me.
My son's stationed in Afghanistan right now, so I'm doing whatever I can to show support.
There is no sadder time than having to bury a loved one from the war. So if we can bring a little ray of sunshine into their gloomy day, then that makes everything worthwhile.
no one expected this homecoming would come so soon, but it's one no one here could miss.
It's the highest honor there is.
The get-togethers come like clockwork.
We're women, it's social. It's always social.
Cheryl Rigsby and Bree Sifford
I get bored with the coloring change.
join a group of ladies to make the most of their time.
It's extremely labor intensive.
So it takes like 60 hours to make one mat.
There could be future carpal tunnel in the future of some of these ladies.
Making mats
I get a little tired.
and making amends.
The judge sentenced me to 15 years, and I have currently done 7, almost 7.5 of that time.
All that time at the Ohio Reformatory for Women.
I'll show you how I do it.
Sifford is serving 4 years for faking prescriptions.
This is 2 years today, as a matter of fact.
Everybody has a place that they can help with this process.
Rigsby's time is for forgery and theft.
We're still people that are doing good for other people.
Hopefully, it'll go to a good homeless person.
The free mats are also free of cloth.
I was very amazed to know that you can turn a blanket from a trash bag.
So it's actually called plarn, which is plastic yarn. And it's a technical term. It's actually in knitting books.
It takes like 500 to 700 bags to make one.
Every bag first gets cut into strips.
And I'm attaching them to each other so that it makes one long chain that can be crocheted.
And it's a little harder than with yarn, but you know, it works.
To understand just how well, go north of downtown, over the tracks, into the woods,
Come in.
to where Tammy Ellig
That's mine.
spends her time.
Some tents have holes in them and they do leak. It can get pretty messy in a tent.
But look behind her. The patchwork of plastic covering this camp protects the little she owns.
Takes up all the mud, so when you go in your tent at night, you don't have to worry about dragging mud in your tent.
You see all the water's coming up out of them, and that's a beautiful thing because we didn't have these mats, this place would be a swamp. Like I said, they work wonders.
Edward Delco's mats,
Layer,
buried in his bedding,
mat,
mean warmth
layer,
and comfort,
and more mats to go all the way across.
even for the toughest of times.
If I ever get a chance to meet the person or people that make these, I will give them a hug and a handshake and tell them a big thank you to go along with it.
They're pretty awesome.
The mat makers work in the prison's reintegration unit, meant to weave them back into society.
You think people incarcerated, you think homeless, they're the shunned ones.
Cheryl Rigsby can now admit she hurt a community.
The mat represents giving. It's finally taking time to look beyond yourself.
She wants to be remembered, though, for the time she helped another. Mike McCarthy, ABC 6 News.